This, I have to admit, is almost pure gossip, but it's too interesting not to share. This one is from Heat magazine, so I'll link the article in the description below. It opens, "Desperate Meghan, I need to fix this." It says, Meghan Markle has had the week of hell from her Spotify deal cancelled, but is Harry to blame? It's been another week from hell for the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, with Meghan Markle spotted looking stressed as it was revealed that the pair's much heralded £15 million deal with Spotify is over. And this article seems to have got hold of a source. Now, I always find it interesting when these sources seem to pop out of nowhere and give information to these magazines and news companies. And of course, they usually go with more than one source, but obviously it's not my source. I'm quoting it from Heat magazine. Now, it must be somebody that knows something, knows them, or at least knows some of the details. Otherwise, it wouldn't be quoted in here. Now, the article goes on to talk about how public opinion appears to have nosedived in America since the release of the Netflix documentary. But also, despite being a bestseller, critics branded Harry's book disastrous. And after a few difficult months, they were ridiculed in the South Park episode and then widely accused of exaggerating their account of a near-catastrophic car chase in New York. In fact, I did a video or two talking about how exaggerated I thought the near-catastrophic car chase was through New York. And many of you guys, perhaps over on Black Belt Barrister, because here we're on Black Belt Secrets, so please do make sure you subscribe if you like these sort of thoughts that I have when I see these articles. You commented that it would be near impossible to have any kind of car chase in New York because most cars are standing still most of the time. But the point of this article very interestingly suggests that Meghan may be regretting not advising Harry not to include some of the more scandalous details in his memoir. Indeed, if I were his friend at the time, I would have suggested not to include certain things. But sure enough, Heat magazine does say that their insider reveals that Meghan is regretting not advising him against including some of those details. They are told, apparently, by this insider, that Meghan can now see, whether it's fair or not, that they are being viewed as professional whiners. And it's not as simple as her distancing herself, because she has to be seen as fully supportive of Harry. She's now regretting that she wasn't more hands-on and involved when he was putting the book together. So just pausing there, this really is distancing. If you break apart the wording here from this insider, bearing in mind the insider may be with or without the knowledge of Harry and Meghan, we don't know. And unless they tell us and it's said, we won't know. But there's a contradiction here. And being a lawyer, I look at these things. It says here, it's not as simple as distancing herself because she has to be seen as being fully supportive. But now she's regretting that she wasn't more hands-on and involved when he was putting the book together. So that is distancing language. That is her, through the insider, saying, I wish I'd have told him and been more firm not to put those things in the book when he was putting it together. Whereas I think it's quite reasonable to assume that they would have discussed it. Any couple would have discussed things. I discuss my thumbnails with my adorable wife from Easy Chinese Cooking, so make sure you subscribe to her channel to show some support for her cooking, if nothing else. It's amazing, by the way. I show her my thumbnails and say, which one do you prefer? Which one would you click on? Which one looks more clicky? And if I'm doing that for thumbnails, they are going to do that, in my view, they are going to do that with a book. A tell-all book of all details about the royal family. Oh, and by the way, I zoom in and out because it technically and statistically increases viewer retention. I know some people don't like it, so apologies to those of you that don't like it, but statistically it works. So I think that is distancing language. And then it goes on. It said this theory that she micromanaged what he wrote or had to say in the manuscript is totally wrong. Distancing language. It was Harry's book, and she let him get on with it. There's distancing language. So She doesn't want to be seen to distance herself from him, but it was all him. He did all of the book. It was his thing, his book. She just let him get on with it. The same went for his interviews and promo tours. That was evidenced by the fact that she let him do those by himself and made a point not to interfere. Or as some might put it, took a back seat in case it went wrong. No one is going to convince me that there were not discussions between them about the book, about the interviews, everything. In my view, any reasonable couple to such a degree of publicity are going to discuss these things. And this, in my view, this insider is quite possibly a way of getting the story out to say, this was him, this was not me. It's not as simple as distance myself, but it wasn't me, it was him. It goes on. With the couple's multi-million-dollar deal seemingly evaporating in front of their eyes, Harry and Meghan's financial structure isn't looking quite as stable as it did this time last year. The quote, it appears to go on, finding a new platform to host their podcast is a priority for Meghan now. They're not giving up and still feel passionate about making it a success, somehow in the long run. But they also can't help but feel like they're staring down the barrel of a potential nightmare right now, with a massive challenge on their hands to find new ways of making a living in America and clawing back their popularity. Let me know in the comments below, do you think that they can claw back their popularity? Do you think that there is anything they can do? If so, what do you think they can do to win back the popularity of the general public? Is there something they can do, or do you think they've burnt that bridge? Because I think sometimes when you do what some have described as a hit piece on Twitter and in my YouTube comments, described as a documentary, some will say that there's no coming back from that. I would like to think that they could make something of themselves and redeem themselves somehow. I love everybody to have another chance, but I for one think it's quite possibly too late. I think it's going to be very difficult. I think if they do something, it probably will sell copies, it will get views, but not necessarily for the reason that they want. And it's not all about views. There has to be some degree of listening to the public in general as well. I've tried a number of different things here on YouTube. I started out with some random stuff many years ago, 2006. I moved into martial arts. I sort of moved back to some random stuff again. Then only when I started doing the Black Belt Barrister channel, it became successful. And then I come over to Black Belt Secrets to give you some of my more personal thoughts and views based on everything that's going on. And in combination, those seem to work. But I've done a lot of things in between that didn't work. Just like my business career, I've done lots of things that didn't work. Some people have criticized me for trying different things over the years. But I'll leave you with a phrase that I think is fantastic and for which I'm going to come back and discuss in many more videos here. Because I'd love to discuss with you ways of being successful, ways of creating wealth, ways of improving your life. And that phrase is, failure is the price of entry. You cannot get anywhere without failure. So will that help Harry and Meghan? Who knows? Let me know in the comments what you think, but do subscribe and come back here. If you want to learn how I've structured my life in the way that I have, and I'd like to think of myself as successful in various different ways, and I'd love to help you achieve that too. Make sure you subscribe, hit the like button. I'll see you next time.